I'm George L. Ransom. I'm 74 years old. The doctor just left. He said my blood pressure is manageable. He doesn't see the walls. He doesn't hear the gates. The real problem isn't my heart. It's that I can't get to the toilet in time anymore. And the man in the next bunk screams all night from dementia. Let me tell you what happened. You see, I regret believing that time in here was just time. I thought getting old would be the same anywhere. I was wrong. It cost me the dignity of aging. It turned breaking down into a public, humiliating spectacle. Freedom isn't just about where you are. It's about having control over the most basic human parts of your own end. It all started to become clear 3 months ago in a place you're supposed to get clean, the shower room. Tile worn smooth as glass, no grip. My feet went out from under me. I hit the floor hard, my hip cracking against the concrete. I just lay there, naked, the water beating down. I couldn't get up. I couldn't even roll over. I waited. I felt the heat leave my body under that spray. A trustee found me. He didn't say a word, just went for help. I felt humiliated. They took me to the infirmary. That's where the real education began. I was on the infirmary cot. A young CO, couldn't be more than 25. My son would be 50 now. This kid sighed, like I was a chore. He held up a diaper. Just part of the program, Pops. He said it like it was nothing, like changing a tire. He helped me into it. My hands were shaking on the bed rails. I looked at them, these old man's hands, and I didn't see my hands anymore. I felt detached. They sent me back to the block, back to my cell. But I wasn't the same man who left it. My cellmate, a kid, early 20s, in for armed robbery. I came back from the infirmary, moving slow. He didn't say anything mean. He just looked at me, then at his stuff on the lower bunk. Quietly, he started gathering it. He moved it all to the top. You groan in your sleep, old man. He said it like a fact of nature. Rain falls, sun sets. I groan. The space around my bunk got bigger after that. Men in the yard stopped meeting my eye. I felt resigned. That distance became my world, until the dark made it impossible. Carl was in the next bunk over, 81, emphysema. You could hear the phlegm in his chest from across the room. Lights out last week. A sound, a wet, choking gasp, then silence. then a desperate, ragged pull for air that didn't come. I knew that sound. I hit the call button. Nothing. I felt dread. I started yelling. The kid in the top bunk started yelling. We yelled until our throats were raw, banging on the bars. Someone down the tier shouted to shut up. It took 8 minutes. I counted. The footsteps coming down the gallery were slow, annoyed. They flicked the cell light on. Carl was arched back, mouth open, eyes wide. They checked for a pulse, called a code, but it was just procedure. I felt frantic. They brought the bag in, zipped him up right there on his bunk. They left him there, in the bag, on the bunk. They said they had to wait for the transport team. Shift change protocol. We had to stay in the cell with the bag for 2 hours. I could see the shape of him. The kid on the top bunk didn't make a sound the whole time. The next day, the doctor's report on the bulletin board said, natural causes. It wasn't natural. It was alone. It was slow. It was ignored. I felt hollow. That's when I understood. Carl's death wasn't an event. It was a preview. Listen, I've been here since 1981. Springfield, Illinois feels like a dream I had. I was a sanitation worker, had a high school diploma, got in a confrontation, took a life. I got life. Simple math. I had a wife, a son, 3 siblings, all gone. No contact for decades. I used to think time was time, that getting old was the same everywhere. I was wrong. In here, aging isn't a process. It's a logistics problem for the machinery. I felt a terrible clarity. The machinery doesn't see a man. It sees a failing system. And here's the thing. Vulnerability is a target. A slipping body in the shower is an incident report. Incontinence is a supply issue. Dementia screams are a noise violation. Dying is a paperwork delay. They manage the symptoms. They don't see the terror, the humiliation. The doctor today, with his manageable blood pressure, he was managing a number, not the man who is terrified of the next fall, the next choke in the dark, the next diaper change by a bored kid. I feel despair. So this is what they won't tell you. This is the hell. They take the dignity of a quiet end, the freedom to break down in private, surrounded by people who care if you gasp in the night. It's not the sentence that's the punishment anymore. It's the aging. It's being forced to perform your own decay in public, on a schedule, for an audience of strangers who just want you to be quiet. It's anguish. If I could tell my younger self, or anyone out there, one thing: fight for the quiet room, the clean bed, the hand to hold, without a guard counting the seconds. That's the only grace there is at the end. It's not about luxury. It's about humanity. If you have someone getting old, a parent, a friend, fight for that for them. And if you have your freedom, don't waste a second building a life where you can grow old with some semblance of peace. That's the real sentence, the one you choose. I'm pleading with you. My time for that is gone. But maybe, hearing this, yours isn't. I'm George L. Ransom. I'm 74. I've served 44 years. My heart is failing. My body is betraying me. And my certain future is Carl's. A gasp in the dark, a weight, a bag, a report that says natural causes. Don't look away from that. Don't let the world look away. See it. Then go hold on to your freedom, your family, your quiet room. Hold on to it like your life depends on it. Because your death does. Because your death does. And you know what they do with that death here? They process it. They process you. After Carl was gone, after the bag was finally taken away, and they'd mopped the floor with that sharp-smelling disinfectant, I had to go see the counselor. Mandatory grief protocol. That's what they call it. I sat in a plastic chair in a room with no windows. The counselor was a woman about my age, but she looked soft. She had pictures of grandchildren on her desk. She asked me how I was coping with the loss of my peer. She used that word, peer, like we were colleagues who'd retired from the same firm. I just stared at her. What was I supposed to say? That I listened to him drown in his own lungs? That I had to look at the shape of his nose through a plastic bag for 2 hours? That his death wasn't a loss, it was a warning. I said, "I'm fine." She nodded, made a note. It's natural to feel a range of emotions. Anger, sadness. "I'm fine," I said again. My voice was flat. I wasn't angry. I wasn't sad. I was mapped. I could see the whole grid now. My path was laid out, clear as the lines on the yard, the fall, the diaper, the distance, the choke, the bag, the report. It was a schedule, my schedule. She gave me a pamphlet about coping with loss. I took it. I folded it and put it in my pocket. Later, I used it to wipe up a spill on my bunk. That's what her grief protocol was worth. The kid, my cellmate, he started talking to me again after that. Not much, but he'd say, "You want the light off, old man?" Or he'd slide my tray closer to me on the table. It wasn't kindness exactly. It was more like maintenance. He was maintaining the piece of machinery he had to share a cell with, keeping the gears from squeaking too loud. One night after lock-in, he was lying up on his bunk, and he just set it to the ceiling. "That's gonna be you, you know." I was on my back, staring at the springs of his bunk above me. "I know." "You scared?" I thought about it. The fear had been there, a constant buzz since the shower fall. But now it was quieter, deeper. "Not of being dead," I said. "I'm scared of the 8 minutes. I'm scared of the waiting. I'm scared of being that shape in the bag while someone else has to sit here and smell it." He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "Yeah, that was all." Yeah. That's when I started thinking about Springfield, Enos Park. I hadn't let myself go there in decades. It was too much like picking at a scar. But now, what did it matter? I thought about my wife, Eleanor. She died 12 years ago. I read it in a newspaper a guard left in the day room. Breast cancer. I thought about my son. He'd be 50, a grown man. I have no idea what his life is. I have 3 siblings, 2 brothers, a sister, probably have kids of their own, grandkids. They don't write. They haven't since the trial. My parents are long gone. A working class house, always clean. My mom made meatloaf on Mondays. My dad worked at the plant. I was a sanitation worker. I drove the truck. It was a simple life. It was a life. I got in a fight, a stupid drunk confrontation outside a bar. A man shoved me. I shoved him back. He fell, hit his head on the curb. Just like that. A life gone. My life gone. They called it homicide. I got life. 1981. Simple math. For years I thought the punishment was the time, the decades. the missing everything, the birthdays, the Christmases, the ordinary Tuesdays. I thought that was the hell, and it was. For a long time it was. But this is different. This is a new sentence. This is the punishment for having the nerve to get old inside their walls, for costing them more in diapers and infirmary visits and eventual body bags. You become a problem, a tedious, smelly, noisy problem they have to manage until you stop. The other day in the chow hall, I saw a man, must be near 90. He was being fed by a trustee, pureed something on a spoon. The trustee was talking to someone else, laughing, not even looking at the old man's face, just shoveling the food in, wiping the chin mechanically when it dribbled out. The old man's eyes were empty, just empty. He was already in the bag. They just hadn't zipped it yet. I looked down at my own hands, holding my plastic spoon. They shake now, a constant, fine tremor. I can't make a fist. The knuckles are big and swollen. These hands used to lift heavy garbage cans all day. They used to hold my wife. They used to toss a baseball to my boy in the backyard of that little house in Enos Park. Now they shake, and they are a problem. My failing bladder is a problem. My slow walk to the yard is a problem. My need for a bottom bunk is a problem. I am a list of problems waiting for a final solution. And the doctor calls my blood pressure manageable. Listen, the hell isn't the heat or the violence or the bad food. Those are the movies. The hell is the indifference. It's the sigh of the CO with the diaper. It's the 8-minute response time to a death rattle. It's the counselor with her pamphlet. It's the empty eyes of the man being fed like a baby in a room full of people who don't see him. They have turned my humanity into a series